Aaron. Thank you guys for joining the call. We're essentially trying to meet new students online. We're just doing that on Instagram and Facebook and putting an ad where students can swipe up, take a survey to win 50 euros to Amazon or something, and give us their contact information along with their level of spiritual interest. To run ads on Instagram, you need to go through Facebook because Facebook owns Instagram. And so actually everybody has a personal Facebook account also has an ad account. It's kind of automatically hooked up. And so what you should do is just Google Facebook Ads Manager and just click the first link and it will bring you to this page. And what you need to do is set up your own personal ad account. It'll look just like this, like we have on the screen. And the most basic things you need to know before we get started is that your ministry should have a business Facebook page and a business Instagram account. And so depending on where you are in Europe, students might be more active on Facebook or Instagram. In my context in Italy, most students use Instagram now and not Facebook as often. And so I'll be showing you how to run Instagram ads today. Let us begin with the how. So yeah, we have two options. One is going through your own personal ad account here. The other would be is that if you're planning on working with a team of other staff to run a marketing campaign in your country, you can create something called a Facebook Business Manager account. And that is a little bit more complicated, but it allows you to share information and projects with other people and collaborate better. So I'll also send a link to how to set that up after this call. But the most important things to know is there are kind of three stages to setting up an ad. And the first is the campaign. And that's kind of like, if you think of an upside down pyramid, that's the most basic kind of top of the funnel. And what this does is it tells Facebook essentially what your strategy is and your goals. Within that, you can have several ad sets. And this is essentially your audience. Who are you trying to target with this ad? And you can have several different ad sets within the same campaign. I would recommend for you guys probably doing 4 different ad sets for a campaign, 2 for each medium. So for the quiz, 1 focused on men, 1 focused on women, and the same for the raffle. And then the ad here is just going to be the media content, the video, the picture, and what you want your ad to say. So I'm just going to show you how to create one. And we'll start by selecting campaign and create. And essentially we want to advertise this right here, which would be a quiz. And then this, which is a survey, a raffle to win 50 euros. So the ad we're going to create right now is a quiz. And it's for students at the university you want to target. And they could be believers, non-believers, we don't know. We're just trying to target students. And so that quiz is going to be hosted on Typeform, like Aaron said, which is a website outside of Instagram and Facebook. And so we'll select this called traffic. This is our objective for the campaign. And as you can see here, it's to bring people to a destination like a website. And so Facebook uses this information to show your ad to people who are most likely to go out of Instagram to a website. So I'd recommend using that for your campaign. We can name it, we'll just call it New Semester. And then coming down here, the buying type, just leave it as option. Campaign objective we already selected is traffic. The A/B test you can ignore. Campaign budget optimization, this is important. You can decide for yourself how long you want to run this campaign for. I'd recommend at least 5 days and at least 10 euros per day probably. So let's just give it a budget of 100 euros. And I would change this to lifetime budget. What this means is that Facebook, over the course of your 5 days or however long you want, it'll adjust the amount it spends per day depending on what is performing the best. So if there are more students on Instagram on a Friday versus a Saturday. It'll spend a little bit more money on Friday to reach the students who are online then. So I'd recommend that. Let's see. Now we can go to next, and this brings us to the ad set. And so remember, this is the audience that we're trying to reach with our ad. And so for the quiz, I'd recommend making one for men and for women. So we'll just begin with a new ad set. Let's call it Bologna, which is the city I live in. Bologna quiz men. So the traffic, we want to bring them to a website. For the quiz, we'll leave it that way. The budget, just choose your dates. I'll leave it like this because it doesn't matter for this example. The audience is really important. And so this is where we determine who we're going to target with the ads, and we really want to reach university students, obviously. And so I'd recommend targeting students in a specific city for each ad set. So if you're in, I'll keep it at Italy. If we're running this campaign nationally, I want to target students at the University of Bologna, Florence, and Rome. I'd actually create 3 different ad sets for that because since there are more students in Rome, Facebook would spend most of our budget on Rome instead of Bologna and Florence, and it wouldn't be as even. And I want students in Bologna to also receive the survey. And so I'll make this ad set specific for Bologna. And you can see it starts out with the potential reach is really high. It's probably not all students. And so we'll come down here to locations, and you can actually type in your city here. So making an ad for students at the University of Bologna, this city. I found that most students live within 10 miles of the city center. So I'll change this down to 10. Narrow in the scope. Most of our students are between 18 and 26, we found, including grad students. And since we're just targeting men, I'll select that. And now it gets really interesting here. We can use detailed targeting. Facebook is a little creepy. They have a lot of information, but that can help us out here because we can actually look for students who fit certain demographics. For example, education, education level, and we can say in college, so current student, or even in grad school as well. So this is super helpful. As you can see, our potential reach is narrowed down a lot, just to people who are in college, grad school, and Bologna. So I'm hoping all of this information is pretty accurate. I know my Facebook page isn't up to date, and so we might get people who aren't still students, but it is better than nothing. Another cool thing you can do is add interests. So if I type in Bologna, I'll come up with other information. So a Facebook page, people have liked the University of Bologna, Bologna's soccer team, the university here again. This is a special art school in Bologna that has university students as well. So I will select that, for example, and target students who have liked that Facebook page or are associated with it somehow. So you can play around with that for whichever city you're trying to target, university. Probably the more specific, the better. And so as you can see now, the daily reach over here, this means that with the amount of money we're spending per day, with the interests and the demographics, we're likely to reach this many people. So this isn't super accurate. We'd probably actually reach more than that from my experience, but it's just Facebook's best guess. And now this is important. I would save this audience as Bologna men. And so we can use this in the future when we create another ad set. Save us some time. To get the maximum amount of results, we want to put ads where students are. And that really would be primarily, for my context, Instagram, and more specifically, Instagram stories. And so we want to select manual placement so we can choose where we show the ads. So I'm going to take Facebook off of here and only leave Instagram on. And coming down here, stories is selected. I'll also leave on Instagram Explore and Feed. These are two other places on Instagram where students can see our ads. And it's a good kind of safety procedure so that if for some reason the story ad does really poorly or students in your city don't check their stories as much as their feed, you can reach both. But my recommendation would be definitely use Instagram stories and Feed and Explore. Optimization and delivery. You can change this around if you'd like, because we're taking people out of Instagram to a website to do the quiz. I'll put landing page views, and a landing page is essentially just the first page of that website. So, landing page views, and Facebook just uses this to send our ad to people more likely to actually click on it and go to our website. Okay, so now we have our audience set. So now this is the final stage, actually making the ad. And we'll say Bologna quiz. And so, yes, this part is really important here. Facebook Ad Manager will automatically link, will automatically put any Facebook page you are an admin of in this section here. And so I'm just going to select the one that is linked up to our student ministry Instagram account. So it'd be this Facebook page and then this Instagram account. So this isn't actually the one we use currently, but I didn't want to mess that one up. So this is kind of an old one that we don't use anymore, but perfect for an example. And this is really important because when students see the ad, this means that it will be presented on Facebook as being from Agape Studenti Bologna or whatever this is. It'll say sponsored by, and then this name. Or on Instagram, it'll say sponsored by Crew Bologna. And if students press our icon, it'll bring them to our ministry's Instagram page. So doing the actual ad right now, I'd recommend just pressing single image or video, and you can create the ad itself actually outside of this. So I'd recommend using a program like Canva, or actually you can use even the Instagram story on your personal account and upload an image and edit it and make it the right format and stuff. And then upload it to your computer. And so it's already prepared when you come down here to add media. I'm going to add a video, and I've already created an ad that I think would work well for this. This is just an example ad. It'll only be showing in 3 places instead of 15, which is great. And the ad that I created is in the format that is best for for stories. And so this is really important. In a story image or video, you want to have the format be 9 by 16. And for a feed or explore image, you want it to be in the ratio of 4 by 5. And so I'll send a document with these ratios and all of the technical details after the call, but you want to use up all the screen space you can. And so I kind of workshopped this ad as an example of what could work. We made a similar ad in Italy just a couple weeks ago to promote a quiz, and actually got the help of one of our student friends to design it, and it did really well. It was successful. And so some things to keep in mind is create an ad that looks pretty organic, like a student could have done it themselves. And it's really cool to include also some GIFs, like these moving objects. In Instagram add-on stories, people will go to your landing page, to your quiz, by swiping up. And so adding some extra arrows that attract people to the swipe up button are great. Including your logo is important. And then I've found that adding kind of a challenging question intrigues students to click an ad. So how did 2020 really impact you? It's kind of a challenge, kind of encouraging them to know themselves more deeply as well. And so try to create some intrigue with the ad. coming over here to the feed. So this ad is essentially done right here. And as I previously mentioned, you can kind of design this ad on Canva or even in Instagram Story. And if you have any moving objects like a GIF or arrows that move, you need to export it as a video instead of an image. And so I usually just make it about a 9-second video or so. So when students see it on Instagram, it'll be 9 seconds. The last thing I would add is for this style, the 4x5, you see the larger story picture won't work. And so you'll need to come here and press edit and then upload a picture with a different format. So this one has been cropped to fit 4x5. It's not ideal, but it's a little bit better. And you can save that there. The only difference with an Instagram feed versus story ad is that on the feed, you can actually write a description that people will see at the bottom, just like it's a post from Agape. And so, let's see, it's a little slow saving it right now, but coming down here, let's see, yes. So these are our media placements, and down here, we can write what we want Agape to post. And so you see right here, the post will be from Crew Bologna, and we can say, take the quiz to learn more about how 2020 impacted you or something. Quiz. And so this is primary text, and this is just where you input what will be shown next to your profile when you show an ad. So I think that's pretty much, yeah, it's being a little bit slow right now, unfortunately. We'll see that in a second. But that is essentially how to design an ad. Now you can come down here and see Crew Bologna, take the quiz to learn more about how 2020 impacted you or something. And then once you have all of your ads done, this part is really important. You need to include the website URL to the quiz, or else people will click on it and not go anywhere. So I have the quiz URL right here. And you just copy and paste that in. So now when students on Instagram Story swipe up or on the feed, click Learn More, they will be taken to our URL, and they can just take the quiz. Yeah, and I think, I'm not exactly sure who came up with it, but this quiz is through Typeform, and so we will be getting all of their responses, and it'll give us information to follow up with students who are spiritually interested afterwards. So that is pretty much start to finish, how to run an ad. A couple more important things. We can come back here to the ad sets. So right now this quiz is targeted just to men in Bologna, and we obviously want to target female students as well. And so what I usually do, because it's less confusing, is come here and exit out to get more of a bird's eye view. This is also important. When you click Publish Draft Items, it doesn't just save your work, but it makes it ready to be run as an ad. And so usually Facebook is continuously saving your information. So I usually don't publish until the very end, until I've developed all the ad sets and all of the ads. So in the ad sets section, we want to make one for women in Bologna. And we can do this easily by pressing duplicate here. Duplicate, and we'll add it to the existing campaign we already have, new semester. And so this creates the exact same ad set with the exact same ads. We just want to target it towards females now. And so we'll come down here to the audience. and we'll edit it to be targeted at females, at women. And then instead of pressing update, if I do that, it will actually change the first ad set audience I made as well towards men. And I don't want to do that. So I want to save it as a new audience, Bologna women. And then in the future, when I'm making my ad, that's the raffle €50 giveaway survey, I can actually just use that exact same audience as well. Yeah, that is pretty much it. If you come back here now and look at the overarching story, we see that we have one campaign created, new semester, and within that are the ad sets. Right now we have two, the Bologna, this should say women, this is for men, and then within that ad set, we have our two quizzes targeted towards Instagram stories and then Instagram feed and explore. So that is a lot of information, but I hope it's helpful to be able to create your own quizzes, target it at students in specific universities, and hopefully get a lot of their contact information to follow up with in person. So Facebook uses algorithms to really target people with your ads that are most likely to, in this case, take a quiz. And I think women statistically are more likely than men to interact with posts in general, especially ads. And so Facebook, if you leave men and women in the same ad set, which I've done before, typically women are targeted 50% more than men and click on the ads a lot more often. So if we want even information from men and women, then we really have to target them separately. And so in this case, for women and men, I would probably, if we have €50 for 5 days, use €25 for men, 25 for women. And that way we can hopefully get responses back that are more even from men and women than just 75% women and 25% men. So I'm doing this specifically for advertising a quiz to meet new students. And so that is what I'd recommend doing. The links, this aspect is pretty close. So links and landing page views are really similar. If you optimize the ad for link clicks, it'll probably do a similar thing, honestly. It's just that this also includes people who might click your profile and go to your Instagram page instead of the landing page with the quiz on it. So that's the main difference between these two. And yeah, these other categories you guys can look at and research on your own.
Okay.
But impressions would be just trying to send it to as many people as possible. And so that's great for just a general ad, not necessarily a quiz you want them to take. But I think the timing varies a lot. And so I've just been learning it for the last few months, and it took me quite a while to come up with kind of my first, I don't know, ad campaign. Designing the ad doesn't take too long. I would say probably, I don't know, 20 minutes to actually design the ad. What takes a little bit longer is to make sure it's in the right format and the right size, and then uploading it to your computer. So for me, it took some trial and error to get that right. Now I know more so how to do it, and it's faster, but I'd say maybe an hour for actually creating the ads. Creating the campaign and targeting it towards students probably takes 20 minutes, just like what we did here. But then creating the different ad sets to make it more specific is faster. But yeah, I would say probably setting up an ad campaign where you'll have maybe 4 different ad sets, targeting or running 2 different ads. It'll probably take maybe 5 hours would be my guess, 6 hours to do everything completely. Yeah, so in my experience, I've been the only one who's been running this in Italy right now. And it's been nice to just be one person because yeah, having help creating the ads was really nice, but I still needed to format it all to be uploaded into this Facebook's ad manager. So having one point person controlling it, I think was helpful and more time efficient. Yeah, it does take time, especially if you're unfamiliar with the program. We can use Facebook's algorithms to retarget students who have either interacted with our Instagram page or interacted with our previous ads. And so you do that by going to the ad sets here and creating a custom audience. So yeah, create a new audience. Let's see. And custom audiences, create new. So if you guys ever want to run more marketing or advertising campaigns later in the fall and the spring, I'd highly recommend checking this out. And what you can do is come down to, for example, Instagram accounts and target the Instagram account we have and highlight anyone who's visited our Instagram account within the last year. And we can actually create this audience and target them specifically with ads in the future. So Instagram views, create this audience. And so I can just continue adding this to current audiences I already have saved. You can even create a lookalike audience, which uses more Facebook algorithms to find people similar to that group and target them. And so this will kind of be, I think of it as a friends of friends who have looked at our Instagram page. And you can just create that. And so this essentially narrows down your audience even further, helps retarget maybe a student who looked at your Instagram page a month ago, thought it was cool, but hasn't given it much thought since. You can retarget them with an ad, put Agape back in their mind, and maybe at this point they're more willing to get in touch with you or interact with you. And so that's a really powerful tool I'd recommend exploring in the future. And the answer is yes. So if you come out here to campaigns, you can click this and look at your different ad sets and come down here to breakdown. And this is where you can select how you want to see the information. So we don't have any data right now for the examples I created, obviously, but I'll actually come down here to this ad. This was completely accidental and really embarrassing. It accidentally ran for like 2 minutes and 14,000 people saw it. So just be wary that that can happen. Make sure the blue is switched to gray so your ad doesn't accidentally go out. But we can look at analytics here by selecting this and pressing breakdown. Delivery, let's do it by age and gender, for example. It gives us information for the specific ads and then yeah, the results, reach, impressions for that. You can also, let's see, come up. How do I get out of this? Yes. Break down by instead delivery, and it would be placement. So this will give you information about whether people saw it on their stories or their Instagram feed. And so we can see that most people saw it on their Instagram stories. And they were more likely to respond to an ad if it was shown to them on a story versus on an Explore or feed. So you can play around with this and track how your ads are going in real time, actually, through this breakdown feature. I don't have an exact answer for what time frame you should follow up with. It depends what type of answer you're trying to get from students. If it's contact information, that's very much like directly, hey, do you want to be involved? This is what we offer, give us your phone number. I would say contacting them within a few days would be ideal. And so for this project, this new semester project, all of that is being, all the data is going to Typeform. And I think Aaron is going to go through it and send us contacts. And so I'd recommend definitely within a week, but preferably a few days, if not before that, reaching out and saying, hey, we got your information from the survey you took, and kind of having a standard response like, this is who we are. Would you like to get a coffee or something?
If I could add with, during the digital summit, there was a guy, and Benny, he has one quiz where they offer some like coaching or development. They decided to call sooner. So their commitment was to call within 2 hours of after them filling out the form. So they were able to do that because they turned the Facebook ad on and off during work hours, and someone was assigned to respond right away. Got a phone number, made calls, and he said when we switched, they went from like 20% response rate. I'm kind of guessing on that. It was really low. To within 2 hours, they would get an 80% response rate as people that would pick up, put it right in their calendar.
We are doing a couple of different advertising campaigns in Italy right now. One was just a fun quiz. That was, which philosopher are you? And so students answered this quiz, and at the very end, if they had answered questions that signified they were spiritually interested, they got to a landing page. Their answer was C.S. Lewis, was this philosopher. And there was a prompt that said, if you're interested with talking about these sorts of spiritual questions with other students who answered similar to you, give us your contact information and we will message you soon. And so I think that just went to a Google Sheet that another person on my team was handling. And so my role essentially has been to create the ads, get them out there, and then someone else on my team has been doing more of the data collection and follow-up. Kind of separately from this new semester digital outreach, the one that we've been trying in Italy has actually been kind of like a 3-part marketing plan where we focused with these quizzes just to kind of build a brand and get students familiar with who Agape was in Italy. And so these free resources were mainly just for kind of familiarizing students with our brand, with who we are. And then we offered them also kind of in a second stage advertising a welcome pack for new students who were, specifically targeted to freshmen who were new to Bologna. We created a document with bars they could go to for coffee, with places they could go to print off lecture notes, fun things to do in the city, study tips. So some other people on our national team made that this summer. And we advertised that and actually asked people to give us their email to receive this welcome packet. And so in Bologna, we had 25 students who gave us their information to receive this welcome pack. And so we're starting to follow up with them this week. And email isn't as, it's not as great of a communication tool as a phone number. And so we're actually running currently our last kind of stage of the process, which is based on the idea that students have seen this quiz ad, they've seen this welcome pack ad, they're kind of familiar with who we are, but now we're going to directly ask them to consider being a part of our movement, our ministry. And so we had kind of an information video that I put on Instagram as an ad with a direct call to action, which is a different type of ad you can create. That would be in the campaign section up here. Different strategy, but you can actually put a form into Instagram where students can watch this video, swipe up, and then immediately read a blurb about your ministry and input their name and number, and we promise to contact them. And so we have an ad running like that right now designed to explain who we are and challenge students to get involved. And so we've just been running that for a day and a half now, and we've had 2 students, praise God, who have given us their phone number and name and wanted to be in touch about what Agape offers. And so we're essentially doing this all with open hands, just praying that God puts these ads in front of students who he's already working on through his Holy Spirit in their hearts, who desire to know him, whether they realize it or not. And we're just praying that he moves people to give us their contact info that they have this desire to get in touch with us and that we can follow up with them and get them plugged in. It's a little bit more difficult on Instagram. So on Facebook, it's really easy to share content like this. And you can share it directly to your page. Anyone can click on it. On Instagram, you aren't allowed to share resources that people can click on unless it's a link in your bio. And so what you can do is post the quiz or post your result or something as a story or on your personal page, and then encourage your friends to go take it and have a link in bio to that Typeform website that is the quiz. And so we did that same thing just from our national Instagram account as well. They just had that as content. And so it's a little bit less convenient. People have to go to your profile, click the website link, but it still works for sure. Yeah, I'd encourage you guys to continue playing around with Facebook Ads Manager, coming up with your own marketing campaigns in the future, coming up with your own fun content, quizzes, videos, and try and, yeah, reach students online.